This is the Dark Illumination Report podcast for Friday, August 21st, 2020. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about entertainment topics. So let's get into it.
This is the Dark Illumination Report podcast, the official podcast of Shadow Path Diabolism, your daily dose of Diabolonian philosophy to inspire you on your journey down the crooked shadow path. Here's your host, R.J. Womack, Brother Nero.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining me on another episode. This is the Dark Illumination Report podcast, and I'm your host, R.J. Womack, and this is the podcast where we promote the religious worship of Satan and demons as a serious faith and way of life. Now, I want to get into this episode by starting out by saying that we're going to be adding Nero and the Pig to our podcast network when we do launch it. And we didn't get a lot of feedback from you guys, so we weren't sure how much you liked it. We got some feedback, but we want to know if you really want us to continue it or not. So if you could give us some comments underneath this episode and let us know, do you want us to continue it? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Do you not care either way? Let us know so we'll know whether it's worth investing the money to host the podcast and if you will be listening. Because if you're not interested in it and you're not interested in the content of the podcast network, then there's no point in investing in a podcast network. Having said that, I also want to say that we would like to have 3 different podcasts up by the end of 2021. I wanted to make that clear because I think I kind of made a mistake in saying that we wanted to have it up by the end of the year without saying that it was by the end of 2021. Now, with all of these things, it's going to take longer than I anticipate. With business, they say add time and a half. Whatever you think it's going to take, it's probably going to take that plus 50% more time. That's kind of what they teach you in project management or thereabouts. So I don't know if this podcast network will be launched at that time or not, but that's our goal anyway. And we would like to get a female-oriented show hosted by 2 female diabolists who want to give the female perspective on the religion. However, since this is a unique tradition and it is a unique form of diabolism, they would have to actually be practitioners of Shadow Path Diabolism in order to give female insight into Shadow Path Diabolism. And since the tradition hasn't really taken off yet, and since the book hasn't been released, it's kind of hard to do that. So again, the timeline may be much longer than we anticipate, but the goal is to have at least 3 podcasts up by the end of 2021, and one of them being a female-hosted podcast on diabolism. It's very important that the female voices be heard in diabolism, especially Shadow Path Diabolism, because we believe that the future of diabolism is dependent on females being involved and women being involved in the religion. Because honestly, as I've said before on this podcast, I truly believe that the true religion of the worship of Satan, if you will, the belief in the worship of Satan and demons in a devotional way is dying. It's being corrupted by the cancer of left-hand path occultism, and it's being corrupted by humanistic philosophy, and the true devotional belief or the worship of Satan in the true sense of the word and the worship of the demons is being lost. So the whole reason that I started this tradition was to make sure that we try to do everything we can to preserve the older ways and preserve the more pagan approach to the religious worship of Satan and demons. And so it's very important, if we don't want to see our tradition, our belief system, and our belief in our gods die away, that women have a voice in this religion and play an active role in preserving it. But it's kind of hard for them to do that if they don't know exactly what the tradition stands for yet. And that's why I do this podcast, to kind of give you some insight into it, even though the book is not out. And having said that, I do also want to point out something about the book that's going to be coming out. It may not come out until June of 2021. And it's not what I wanted, but it seems like that's going to be the most likely date. Since it's a book establishing a particular religious tradition, it has to be good. And the money being invested in it is quite a bit. So we want to make sure that it's a good quality book, that it actually helps people to understand the tradition, helps people to get connected with Satan and helps people to devote themselves to Satan. Otherwise, it kind of defeats the whole purpose of doing the book. So we need to make sure that the book is a good quality book with good quality content, and we need to take as long as it takes. And my goal is to get it out by summer solstice 2021, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure it gets out. The unfortunate thing is that we'll probably have the ministry launched as a legal organization before the book comes out, and we'll probably have the podcast launched with at least the first 2 episodes of the first 2 shows of the podcast network before the book comes out. So unfortunately, that's just the way it works right now, and everything's taking longer. So there's not much I can do. It can't be helped. I'm trying to do it as fast as I can. Plus, I want to keep this daily podcast up, which I think is very important. I think it's one of the most important things about the ministry is that people just need to know that you're there, that there is somebody that believes enough to do a podcast every day. And I think that's critically important at this time. I think our tradition is dying, not because Satan won't preserve it. I mean, I think as long as there are people that have a longing for the darkness and there's people that believe in Satan, there will always be diabolism in some form or another. But I do think, generally speaking, the tradition is dying. And I think this podcast is one of the few things that's kind of keeping it alive. Because, I mean, not that I'm the be all and end all of everything, because I know there are other people out there who are diabolists, who practice and who believe in Satan. So I'm not trying to say I'm solely responsible for keeping diabolism alive, but I will say that I think I'm doing my part because I'm doing this show every day, trying to make sure that people know that there are people who actually do believe in Satan and do care about this religion and do care about Satan's children and do want to do this, not just because, we want to promote ourselves or something. That's not the point of this. The point of this is to show people that there is people out there who actually care about it, that actually love the religion, love the gods. And I did say love. And I know that's a terrible thing to say in diabolism for some people because they believe Satan is sinister and they believe that to say that you love the demons or love Satan is somehow a sign of weakness or a sign that you're not a real Satanist. But let me tell you, all the people that I've known in my life that have dedicated themselves to Satan will tell you that they love Satan like a father. They love the demons. They respect the demons. They want to make the demons proud of them. They want to make Satan proud of them. And they have no shame in expressing their love for Satan. So if you're the type of person who thinks saying that you love the demons or you love Satan or you see Satan as a father is wrong, then this is definitely not the tradition for you. Okay, so I kind of went off on a tangent. So let me get back to the point of this podcast, which was supposed to be the entertainment, or the subject was supposed to be entertainment. So Lucifer season 5 is going to be coming out and should be out by the time you hear this podcast. And for those of you who don't know, Lucifer is supposed to be confronted by Dad or God in this particular season. So it should be interesting in addition to all the other things that happened, which I won't spoil because I know some of you may not have seen the rest of season 4 yet. So, but anyway, for those of you who are interested in Lucifer, I just wanted to tell you that that's coming out. I also want to mention to you or recommend a book to you that I really think you guys might like, which is a business book, which is not necessarily entertainment, but since it's not directly related to Satanism, I felt like it was the most appropriate episode to put it on. And this is a book by a guy named M.J. DeMarco called Unscripted. And I think it's a very interesting business book because he talks about doing away with certain concepts of business and money management ideas and wealth building that's very popular in our society. And he talks about different methods to build your finances and to do business. And he gives you ideas for how to approach business and how to build wealth that are not conventional. And I really found it an interesting book, not only because of the financial advice and the business advice, but just the general life advice that I think he gives. And it's a pretty big book, but I think it will be well worth the read for any of you who might be interested. And it'll give you a little insight into the type of things I read when I'm not reading Satanism. So you'll get an insight into who I am as a person. And maybe you'll get a sense of whether you and I will get along and whether you and I would mesh well together as working together in the ministry and stuff. Because even though this book is not satanic, it is a book that shares very similar to ideas to what I believe in personally and what I stand for personally and what I think Satanism stands for. So if you want to get an idea of what I think satanic philosophy is, or the satanic approach to life is, or at least one of the different approaches to life is from a satanic point of view, that's not strictly in a religious context, I think Unscripted is a perfect book for you to kind of understand my approach and the way I apply satanic philosophy to non-satanic or non-religious issues. And I think this book will give you a little insight into that. So I highly recommend it. And that's going to be it for this episode. I know it's not too much, and I know I didn't go into too much detail about entertainment, but that's only because I kind of got sidetracked by the religious stuff and giving you a little bit of an update about the ministry. But generally, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about shows coming up, and most of the entertainment-related topics I'm going to save for Nero and the Pig. In fact, I might change this to a personal development episode every Friday or something like that. I don't know what I'm going to do exactly yet, but I'll figure it out and I'll let you know. If you have any suggestions for different show ideas for Friday, let me know in the comments below the YouTube video or wherever you leave comments. Until next time, take care, everybody.
If you would like to learn more about the Shadow Path Diabolism tradition of occultism, go to rjwomack.com. That's rjwomack.com. If you enjoyed this podcast and support our message, tell a friend, leave us a review, and follow us on social media.